welcome back to another episode of the Always About People show. I'm your host, Chris Allen, and I've got a special guest with me today. We're actually traveling together. We're at a conference together right now. And Michael Howell has become a good friend just over the past couple years. We don't see each other that often, but when we do, we get caught up, and his infectious smile has captured me from the beginning, from the time we met, and it's just an honor to have you here. Today, we want to cover this idea. Michael is a leader. He's a franchise owner in the real estate world, but he's also a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, speaker, communicator, presenter. He is just an incredible leader and influencer in his community. And we really wanted to talk about this topic of from success to significance. This idea that in our journeys, really God brings us along.
Yes,
and so I'm excited for you to hear a little bit of Michael's story today. But we're going to get into his story and also into some of what leadership looks like and some of really what God has done through you in your leadership as his real estate brokerage has just grown quickly over just a few short years. And so, Michael, it's great to have you on the show today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we're holed up in a back room and just excited to get into a conversation. So I told him that we would just be casual, we'd just be talking, but in the moments leading up to us kind of recording this, he was sharing a little bit of his story. And Michael, I would love it if you would just share a little bit of your story. We're talking about this topic of from success to significance, and your story is important. So maybe we rewind this thing a little bit, share a little bit of your story, and then we'll get into some leadership concepts there towards the end.
Sure. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so
where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, why don't you go back to the beginning? You were sharing with me a little bit of kind of your upbringing, and then maybe we fast forward to that moment on the second floor of the duplex.
Okay.
So we'll start there.
Sounds good. So, I was, I'm 52 years old. So, I was born in 1969, and my mother and father were interracial couple. My dad met my mom in Germany when he was in the service and came back over here when they were in their very early 20s. So we lived in what we would call, the hood. But my dad was a very, very ambitious guy and worked a lot of jobs at businesses. So he moved us out of the hood into the suburbs in 1977. So we were the first African-American family in the suburbs, and my brothers and I were the first kids of color to ever attend the all-Catholic school in the neighborhood.
And where did you grow up again?
This is in Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania area.
Norristown,
Great.
Pennsylvania. Yeah. So as you can imagine, it was a pretty big deal, and for many years I was very happy. My mom and dad, they got along, but they did there was a lot of fighting, and they always got back together though. And then right around 7th grade, it just had gotten really bad, and dad didn't come back this time, and that really caused my mom a lot of pain and suffering, and being from Germany, she had no other family here, so she really suffered with depression, and she was institutionalized.
Oh, wow.
So it was my younger brother and I, because my older brother had left home, and it was very, very, very difficult times.
So dad's gone.
Dad's gone.
Mom's institutionalized. It's you and your younger brother.
Me and my younger brother. Dad would come home from time to time and take care of some things that we need around the house. But as you can imagine, school was becoming very, very difficult to succeed in. And so I was a athlete, and by the time I was, which would have been my senior year in high school, I ended up having to drop out of high school.
Wow.
And that was pretty much one of the most embarrassing moments in my life, because, like I said, I was a pretty popular kid, athlete, and that was one of the first really significant moments in my life that I was really embarrassed and ashamed about.
So you said your dad would show up from time to time. How did he feel about you dropping out of high school?
So yeah, that was he was very strict, and what he didn't realize is that him not being there had really played a big part in where I was going academically. But he literally came to school the day that I had to leave school, and he took me immediately to the Navy recruiter and made me sign up for the Navy. So I was scheduled to leave for the Navy in September of 1987 because I didn't have a high school diploma. I ended up going down to leave for basic training. Before I left that day, they called me back into the office and told me that my date had changed from September to February. And the reason that was significant is because in October, I met
A month later,
I met my today's wife, now today of 32 years, Lori.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And by the time February came, I told my dad that I changed my mind. I wasn't going into service. I met a girl, I think I'm in love, and I'm probably going to get married. And my dad told me, if she loves you, she'll be here when you get back. But if you don't leave tomorrow, when they come to get you to go into service, tonight's your last night living here.
Tough love.
Yeah. So that was my last night living there.
Okay, so you move out of the house, and how quickly did you get married, and then go from there?
Yeah. So I was about 18. I had a good job selling carpet cleaning products for Stanley Steamer. Lori and I got our first apartment, 921 Marshall Street, $435 a month.
There you go. Yeah.
And this one I kind of really recognized that I had a skill for sales as well, because I was selling carpet cleaning products and became one of the best crew chiefs at the company. So fast forward about a year and a half, 2 years later, Lori and I got married. I was 20. And within that year, actually we went all the way on our honeymoon and came back where we was pregnant with Michael, our first son. So in March of 1991, Michael was born. And we bought a house around that same time, so a duplex.
So you're in a duplex, you're selling carpet cleaning products, you've got a son on the way, your son's born. What does life look like at that point in time for you?
Well, for the most part, it was really, really good. So I'm going to go to the job.
Perfect.
Right? I'm going to go to the job and
success.
Yeah, success. So I was always very ambitious and driven with money. So some of the guys on the job, we'd go out on Friday nights and party, and some of them use drugs, and we all did at the time. And so I knew some people that had it, and I would get it for them every Friday. Well, that led to my first entrepreneurial experience. Right? So I kind of, instead of going to get it for them every Friday, I ended up becoming selling drugs to the guys at the job.
Yeah. So you've got this cleaning products sales job that's going well.
Yep.
And then you've got this entrepreneurial startup that seems to be going pretty well.
Yeah.
So then what happens?
So one day in March, about a year later after Michael was born, I look outside my window and SWAT trucks are coming from all over the place. And I realize they're coming for me. And they kick in my door. And in a frantic panic, trying to get rid of any drugs that were in the house, they came up, guns drawn, threw me on the floor, stripped me down to my underwear as they were going through the house, and I was handcuffed to a chair. And my 1-year-old son walked in the room, sitting there in his diaper with like cops all throughout the house, and I just remember looking up, saying, "God, please don't let me lose my family."
So at that point in time, family's the most important thing to you, but you're having success in life because you're good at sales.
Yeah.
Yes, there's this entrepreneurial startup that was illegal. You're caught, and you're saying, "God, please don't let me just don't let me lose my family."
Yeah.
So give us the rest of that story.
So I was actually in a cell, and I'm just sitting there going through it in my head. I'm broken, and I knew about God, but I couldn't say that I had a relationship with him. So guy came up to me and asked me if I had ever been saved, and took me through the scripture of Romans 10:9. And at that moment, I gave my life to God. Gave my life to God to the best of my ability at that particular time.
And so then give us the rest of that story, because obviously you go to jail.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
So I make bail, and I immediately enroll in the barber school. My dad had a barber shop, so I enrolled in barber school, and within 9 months, I graduated top of my class. I'm still awaiting sentencing. Almost a year and a half later, I go to get sentenced, and I'm looking at 3 to 6 years upstate, because there was a mandatory minimum at the time
For drugs.
For selling drugs. And thank God, I had the support of my dad and lawyer and the barber school. And I also was working 2 other jobs, so I'm working like 3 jobs, and we basically throw ourselves on the mercy of the court. I go to my sentencing hearing in July of 1994, and Lori is pregnant with my second son, Marcus.
Wow.
And we were literally in the courtroom, and then I'm thinking like I'm going to be going to jail that day.
Yeah.
And the judge had looked at my history. I'd never been in trouble with the law, and Lori wrote a beautiful letter. I had a lot of support in the courtroom, and I was given 15 to 36 months in the county prison on immediate work release. So I never was taken totally away from the family.
Wow. So you're never taken away from the family. You have this ability in sales and entrepreneurship, and maybe give us the rest of that story from there, because I think you went on to be a pretty successful barber.
Yeah, so I started Ken Du's Barbershop, and quickly become one of the top barbers in Norristown. It's a little town, and again, my dad was a kind of larger than life guy, so a lot of folks knew who he was, and so they automatically knew who I was, right? Because I was Mike Howell's son. So I quickly became the top barber in the area, and within about a 10-year period, within that 10-year period, I became one of the top barbers, to the point where I wanted to open up my own barbershop.
Yeah. Entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial.
It's coming back.
Yeah, so there was a building right down the street, and we had a client. A funny story about this is the client that I'm telling you about right now is the Montgomery County Commissioner today in our county, and there's some significance around that. So his name's Ken Lawrence, and I was like, Ken, I'm looking to open up my own barbershop, and he says, you got to meet my friend Lou Masella. So I meet Lou at a building down the street that was for sale, and we put in an offer on this property. We don't get the property. A couple months later, Lori and I are thinking about selling our house, so I ended up calling Lou out to the house to list the house. We still live there, so Lou's 0 for 2.
Okay, and so just for our guest, Lou happens to be his business partner within the franchise, and so this is a relationship that was established
23 years ago
around
now.
trying to find a barbershop location.
Trying to find a barbershop.
That's great.
So before Lou leaves my house that day, I asked him how to become a real estate agent. I literally went back in the house and put the old phone book, looked it up, and I was in real estate school. A week later, 3 months later, I had my real estate license, and I started under Lou's mentorship at Century 21 Alliance.
That's great. Okay, so you're under Lou.
Yeah.
You're learning from Lou. You're still cutting hair?
I'm still
You
cutting
still got
hair.
the barbershop.
Still cutting hair.
How many locations of the barbershop at that point?
Well, at this point, I hadn't opened my own barbershop, so I was still working at the shop that I was at. And within a 3-year period, I left the barbershop to go full-time in real estate. And during that period, I just opened up a shop. I kept the clientele, and we're cutting them out of I converted my garage into a barbershop.
Yeah, that's great. And there's the entrepreneurialism back again, Michael. So you're now in real estate.
In real estate.
You're under Lou. Tell me, kind of, again, we're on this idea of from success to significance.
Yeah.
You said that day with your arms and your hands cuffed behind your back, God, just don't let me lose my family.
Just don't let me lose my family.
You got the family intact. You've got a successful barbershop. You've got a real estate license. Where's that career go from there?
Yeah, so I quickly became one of the top producing real estate agents in Century 21. Lou ended up leaving and going out on his own, and I continued to work at Century 21, but also cut hair on the side. So as we were growing, I lost my train of thought here. I'm sorry.
Well, just walk us through the growth for you personally of your career from that point in time, because ultimately where I want to end up is where you are today.
Yeah.
And so just give us a little bit of the history of kind of you go from the top producer to then what?
Yeah. So both of my sons were very athletic. So they both played sports in high school, and then they went on to college. So after they stopped playing sports, I kind of was a little bit struggling a little bit about like where I'm going.
What are you gonna do with all your time?
Where I'm going with all my time, right? And real estate at the time, just I wasn't passionate and in love with real estate. I really liked real estate for what it brought me. And at the same time, teams were starting to grow, and I didn't really particularly want to do all the running around and buying and showing buyer agent stuff. So I ended up moving and growing a team. And so I went to Keller Williams. And at the same time, I joined the Associate Leadership Council, and I started teaching classes. And I realized now that became something that I really became passionate about, because the more that I wanted to get better at a particular topic, I would teach it. And so moving and growing the team within a 2-year period, I had about 10 agents on my team. And in 2017, we were the top team in the company. We did over 100 transactions, over 20 million. And I thought that I was going to be staying at the company and in some type of potential ownership capacity. And ended up selling a house in an area that I don't normally sell in, 102 Constitution Ave. And 102 Constitution Ave was the listing agent was Greg Bardell. And Greg Bardell is the regional director for Realty One Group, which is the franchise that I own now.
Yeah. All right, so you go from this individual success as a real estate agent to then building a team. You build a team, and the team becomes the best team in the country. You go from there to meeting this guy named Greg, who introduces you to Realty One. And 2017 was another significant year for you.
Very.
Because you launched something else. You became a part of another group as well.
Absolutely. So funny story about that was I in that year, I was encouraged to get a coach. And I had started interviewing some MAPS coaches, and everyone I interviewed had not done the amount of production that I did. And it was $1,000 a month. So I kind of thought that was a little steep. So I followed a guy by the name of John Maxwell, who you know, through the Success magazine. And through that process, I got an email about coaching. Yeah. And so I signed up to become a member of the John Maxwell team, and became a certified speaker, trainer, and coach in 2017 for the John Maxwell team.
March or August?
That was in August.
All right. So
I go to the IMC in August of 2017.
Yep. Okay. So you've got this passion for a guy who didn't graduate high school, who was kicked out of the house, who got married young, who almost went to jail.
I did go to jail. I did go to jail.
Who went to jail?
Work release.
Who did work release? Yeah, that's right. Who did work release? Who has had successful time in building a barbershop, and then individual success in real estate, and then team success in real estate, and then you're coaching and you're leading, and then you go get certified.
Yeah.
So, what now?
Yeah. Can we back up a little bit,
please,
to the faith part?
Yeah.
Again? So, along with a lot of this success, right? Grew the team, great numbers, production, doing very, very well. It also came along with I had a lot of fun, and I was always a drinker, and I was always involved in our church as a leader in our church. So I started having a lot of conviction about the life I was living and where I felt God was taking me. And in a moment in 2016, was on my knees praying and asking God to just help me. And I heard God say to me in my spirit, "Where I'm taking you, this cannot come." And so February 1st of 2016 was the last time I had a drink. And so I just celebrated about 6 years of being free from alcohol.
That's great.
And the reason I tell you that is because it was right after that we had the big year in 2017, then joined the John Maxwell team, and then sold the house on 102 Constitution. So when God said, "Where I'm taking you, this cannot come," I would have never been able to be prepared for the moment that he had me in to make such a transformation in my life, and really have such a great impact in my family, my community, and now over 130 real estate agents that work in our company.
All right, so you've got a successful franchise with over 130 agents that work underneath you. You're doing some coaching, you're doing some speaking, you're loving teaching. I guess what I would just ask you is, when you think about from success to significance, what would you say is significant about what you're doing right now?
Well, it really starts with the person in the mirror first, right? It really starts with the person in the mirror first, and I always call it the secret is in the surrender, right? So when I recognize, as God shows me things and areas in my life that I need to work on or surrender to Him, it always ends up helping other people, right? The better I become, the better I am for others around me. So I've really just started to focus on personal development and becoming the best version of myself that I can be. And as a result of that, I look around and I've got both of my sons. Michael's 31 now, Marcus is 27, both college educated, both degrees from Tufts, Kutztown, and they're both working for the company now.
That's cool.
They're both working for the Mike Howell team.
Yeah, so I have this vivid image in my head of you handcuffed, saying, "God, please don't take my family from me." And now in this place of significance, the two sons, that one was one at the time, Michael, walks upstairs, sees Dad in this place, and now working for the company. And so I think maybe to further this question, what I would say is, as you lead people now, over 130 agents, how are you helping them move from just success to significance?
Leading by example. I do a lot of training and coaching for the office. So, I created a coaching program called Business Building in Action, and that kind of came from my journey. So it starts with a goal, right? What's your why? Why is this goal important to you? Then we talk about mindset, because your beliefs drive your behavior. We talk about priority management, because if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. Financial management, consistency and accountability, and personal growth. We end it with personal growth, and I share my story, what I'm sharing, and your business grows to the extent that you grow, and I'm living proof. So a lot of our agents, and I think in real estate in general, get into the business. Hey, I want to sell real estate. I want to do this for a living. But I take it from the perspective of you're a business owner. If you don't believe you're a business owner, you're not going to treat it like a business, right? And so I just try to show them how to what the things that I've done that's made me successful in the business, and literally just took this past quarter took 61 agents through business building in action.
Wow.
And now our numbers, everyone that's going through these programs that are going through my coaching and training, all of their numbers are getting better. And now we're the number 2 real estate company in our area. And in 2021, we sold over 800 houses and over $230 million in real estate.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So from success to significance, business building in action.
Business building in action.
I think as I heard you talk, as I kind of think through, we've got a lot of people who watch the show who are leaders, but we also have individuals in different businesses and people with all kinds of different backgrounds. This isn't just a show about real estate. This isn't just a show about building a team of real estate agents. These practical nuggets that Michael has given us, business building in action. Could you go through those one more time for everybody? Because regardless of whether you're building a business right now, you're leading a team, these specific points, this framework, I think could be really helpful for our listeners.
Sure, absolutely. And again, this kind of came through my experience, right? Every year going through a business planning class and leaving it like, okay, we started it, but where do I start with the action, right? So for me, I've always been a goal-oriented person. So in order to get somewhere, you got to first know where you're going. So the first week we talk about goal setting and why. Why is this goal important to you? And we pick 3 to 5 areas of your life that you want to set a goal in.
That's cool. So we're identifying goals and these values that point to the deeper values in each one of us that point to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
Purpose.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
And then week 2 is mindset, because your beliefs drive your behavior. And I really want them to understand that they're not just selling real estate, but they are a business owner. So you have to think like a business owner.
Yep. Love it. Week 3?
Week 3 is instead of time management, we talk about priority management, right? Because the things that are important to you in your goals, well, we should see them on your schedule.
Yep.
Right? So when you put all the things down that are important to you, now you can prioritize them. So we talk about the 80-20 rule as well. So we believe that your success is tied to your daily agenda.
Absolutely. Priority management are the things that are like your priorities on your calendar. Love it.
Absolutely.
Week 4?
Week 4 is accountability and consistency. Accountability for me was something that I never really thought that I needed until I really understood the power of it and sharing what I wanted to do with someone else. And then when you're meeting with them on a regular basis, it makes you more focused on that. So having an accountability partner we talk about is very important, or some type of accountability, whether it be a coach or just having an accountability partner.
Love it.
And consistency, right? We just talked about it. James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, what we do every single day. People look at me now and be like, man, it's not an overnight success. These are the things that I've done consistently for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and they compound, right? It's like they compound on one another, and it's an incredible thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
And then week 5 is financial management. Huge, because what business can you run without having financial management? And I found a lot of realtors don't really understand, profit and loss and balance sheet. So we spend 1 week on financial management, what that looks like as a business owner.
That's awesome.
And then we wrap it up at the end with personal growth, because we believe your business grows to the extent that you grow.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to continuously be growing. As you can see, when you continually grow, you start to see that in your life, and not just in your life, but in those the lives of those around you.
Wow. Well, I want to make sure we don't miss this. That financial piece doesn't just relate to business. That could be personal financial as well. So if your own personal finances are not in order, you're not moving from a place of success to significance. And so, again, we've learned some really, really practical takeaways today through Michael's story. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share your story. For those of you who watch consistently, thank you for joining us again for this very important concept and topic from success. We can have all kinds of success in something, but how do we have significance in our lives? Thank you for reminding us. Thank you for those really 6 practical steps that you're helping people through. I wish you the best success.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But not just success. I hope that you continue to have the significance that God has put on your life. So thank you for joining. Until next time, thank you for joining us on this show. We appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe. You can watch us live on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us for this another episode of the Always About People show. Thanks again. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate you.